Hello, it's Joanne here. I am making some tags for a journal that a friend called me and asked me if I would make for her daughter. Now, she's an athlete and she loves squirrels. So, guess what I did? I went shopping for squirrels and basketball memorabilia, and I couldn't come up with much except for um, in my imagination. It had to be paper, it had to be a book. So I started off with making some trips to the thrift store, and I found this book, which I really loved the illustrations in, and I opened it up. It was 1961, and loved the illustrations again, but I flipped through it and ready? Yep, squirrels. It had squirrels in it. And so I got my first inspiration, and I was able to start to build this journal. So that's what I'm going to do with this video. I'm going to show you where I went with my papers and my books, and you're going to see by what I've chosen how this is going to end up. And at the end, I'll do a flip through, and I'm hoping that you're going to stay with me for the whole video because it's good for me for the video. But I tried to make this video the way that I would want to watch a video, and I like to watch the process. So here's some tags that I made. I took some magazines, some card file folders, and uh, found some sentiments that were appropriate. Got my sewing machine, my glue bottles, and with the information that her mom had given me, I was ready to start making some tags. And that's what I did one night. I spent a whole 2 hours making tags and collages and trying to incorporate the things that would be good for her and that reflected her personality. So that's what I did here. I'm showing you all the different things that I created with the papers, and then I found this book, and it had squirrels in it. So naturally, I thought I'm not going to find anything with squirrels. I mean, you'll find a lot with bunnies, but you don't find very many squirrel things. So I thought I better take this, but I wasn't really sure where I was going to go with it. I knew I liked the images. I liked the girl with the long blonde hair because that's what this girl, this young lady was when she was little. She had blonde hair. She still does now, but it was just reminded me of probably something that could have been her. I didn't know her as a little girl, but I imagined that that's what she would look like. So I got those pages ripped out and thought I would figure out how to put them in the book that I had created to be 10 inches tall by 12 inches wide. So that was a little bit of a challenge on my part, and I don't know why I chose those dimensions. I still don't, because these papers were um, a challenge to put in the book because of the dimensions that I had chosen. So I'm learning as I go, and I'm deciding in these books to pick out her initials, and this paper here was what her mom had given me, for color inspiration for the journal. So you'll see that all over the journal because that's what her mom thought would be the best thing. So here's, trying to keep on those color schemes. This teal and the pink and then navy blue. I had a little challenge with trying to get that in there. I did have some navy blue in the basketball illustrations, and so I, tried to keep that color scheme in the back of my head at this all the while I'm making this journal. So we had some technical difficulty with the microphone. Figured it out. Here I'm putting a tab on that page that I wasn't really crazy about, but I liked the paper, but I wasn't sure what I was going to do with it, so I decorated it up with a little tab. Now I'm cutting my papers, my blue that I wanted to add in because it's pretty, and I didn't want to add a lot of navy blue because it didn't seem like it matched that original paper that was my inspiration piece. So I like this paper, this page that came out of the book though. On the white side of that paper where the lettering is, it talks about the dedication. It's the book dedication. And I ended up covering the part where it was dedicated to that particular person. So that way it would appear that this journal was dedicated to Kate. I didn't put her name in, but I hid the original name. So that way it'll be hopefully they'll pick up on that. So I'm trying to decide what pages are going to go where, and as we do when we're journaling or in the process, we just keep picking papers up and putting them down until we like where we've put them. And I have pre coordinated my pages after I cut them and folded them. And somehow when I do the sewing, they get mixed up. And I guess it has to be me since I'm the only one touching them, but I don't know how I do it. I just get all involved in the creative process, and then before I know it, I realize that I don't think this matches this, and how did I get this here? So I have to watch that with myself, and I try to be mindful of it, but so far I haven't got that down yet. So I'm cutting and clipping and putting all these pages to the size that I want to fit this journal, and then some of them I don't even end up using them, like this one with the umbrellas. I cut it to size, and then in the end I realized I didn't even have a place for this one to go. It didn't coordinate with the colors that I had. While I'm not um, really specific about everything matching perfectly, you can't do that because you're working with a lot of different sources. So um, I do like to try to make them have some kind of connection though, each page. So that's my goal anyway. This is my inspiration paper there that Kate's mom sent me, and then I just screenshotted it and took the colors from there and tried to somewhat stay within that color family if I could. Um, So I am, trialing pages as I cut them to see where they're going to go. Creative process, here it is. Here's some pretty blue and white that I really love. I have to put that in there because it kind of reminds me of the sky. And sky and basketball, yeah, they go together. And the pink, I have some hot pink in this inspiration piece, but I didn't have a lot of hot pink or fuchsia, and I didn't want to overwhelm the whole book with it. So, I stayed within that pink family, and which is my favorite family. This blue and white I absolutely love. Just as a side note, my neighbor, she had those in her bedroom, her little girl's bedroom, and I just love it. I'm using the last of this PVA glue, which I spent $15 for this small, I think it was 16 ounces. And I had diluted it in a mason jar after I watched somebody's video. I think it was Treasure Books, Natasha's Treasure Books. And I diluted it too much. And so now I was left with the end of this bottle. But I found that, I double glued it and it did stick pretty well because I have to be careful because this is the center page of my signature. So I want to make sure that that little folded edge from that book will adhere really well to the outside of this page because it's going to be flipped a lot due to the fact that it is a center piece for the signature. So we will glue this down and then I let this dry a good amount of time, and then while it's drying I decide, you know what, I'm going to put some washi tape on it just to make sure it's held down nice. And why not a little color there? It looks red from here, but it seemed kind of pink to me. And hey, red is kind of in the pink family, right? So putting another color on the other side is what I end up doing because, again, I don't like things to be matchy-matchy because this is what makes it homemade, and homemade is special. As long as it's not crazy homemade, it makes it special. And that's what I did. And this is now ready to be the centerpiece. And I love it. Now I've got some other pages here that I'm trying to decide how I can incorporate these, and they are on the thick side, so deciding that I'm just going to use her initials because the other colors with the browns and the greens, I was going to have too much trouble trying to incorporate those colors, and they're earthy, and I think about basketball, and yeah, you're outside playing, well, you could be inside too, but it's not really part of the color scheme, so I'm just going to go with using these for her initials. And I really didn't want to stress myself out looking for K and P through all my magazines when I've already been, going all over the place looking for things to go in this journal. These pages, they looked good, but they just didn't fit in when all was said and done. Love that center page. I just keep looking at it because I'm so happy with it. This trim here came from Cookies Antiques, which is down the road from both Kate and myself. I'm using Aleene's Julep glue because I'm thinking this is an embellishment and thinking this is going to be sturdy glue to hold this on. But it does kind of slide all over the place. So I really had to give this time to dry. And, let's face it, when we're working on a journal, we want it just to dry. The Fabri-Tac was being a little annoying to me because it was drying very thick all over my fingers and even in my project. I've heard people talking a lot about art glitter glue. I'm not sure, Does anybody have any feedback? Is anybody using art glitter glue in place of Fabri-Tac? I decided on this piece I needed to put this decorated paper clip on the top just because the paper was down a little bit low. And I revisited this, it's not a Disney page, it's, I think it's a Golden Book. And I revisited this because I wasn't really happy with it. So I decided to put a page in the middle there because there was just too much white for this book. Although it's not really vintage, I don't want it to just scream, totally contemporary. So I washi tape this and glue that, and then I ultimately end up putting that inspirational piece right over the top of where you see right now of that page. I leave this cute page because that's the one that says, this is fun, and the more nuts I throw, the fewer the squirrels have to carry. And, trying to tie in the theme with her being a basketball player and a softball player, throwing, and squirrels, I thought maybe she would get a kick out of that. So I'm hoping that she picks up on that, or her mom does, and they get some joy out of that. So that is going to stay there, and instead of having it in the back, I decided it should be up in the front with these other pages, and then it can be a little menagerie of squirrel talk. And that's that. Now, I have a little piece in here that I want to put. I'm kind of deciding, does this have enough embellishment? Does it have enough tags? By tags, I mean the ribbons, tabs, that's what I mean, T-A-B-S. I decide that I'm going to use this paper that I made myself. I took a paper bag, I sprayed it with some um, acrylic paint outside spray can. Wasn't really happy with it because I thought the smell was overwhelming, even though I did keep it outside for 3 or 4 days on the porch. So I decided a little piece on the end would work, and it would bring out that map. So I cut that, and I'm not even sure if I ended up keeping it in the journal because I'm doing the voiceover, but as you can see here, this is what I did. Now for the cover. The cover, Lily Pulitzer, beautiful fabric, but it's in knit. I was expecting it to be cotton. I don't like working with knits because they're stretchy and they move all over the place and you get wrinkles. If you use a knit needle on your sewing machine, then it will help control the stretch. However, when you're working with cardboard, I work a jean needle in my sewing machine, and so I'm asking a lot of my sewing machine to put a knit needle in there, and I think it's called a microtex actually, not a knit needle, but yeah, it wasn't going to work. So I had to really finagle it. Now the cereal box, I thought I was going to double it. That's why I said 2, because I was going to double it to make it thick. I'm using one of the pages for a template, and I decided just to go with the 1 because it was going to be more feasible for this particular cover. So I'm just drawing around it, and then I'm going to cut it out, and then that teal fabric to the left I'll be using for the liner, the inside cover of this journal. I doubled the fabric because it was going to be see-through with these nice vivid graphics from the cereal box. I'm using that Fabri-Tac because that's what I trust to hold fabric down. I'm going to spread it all around with a card and then place my fabric on it. And then I decide, okay, I'm going to make a sandwich from this. So it's an Oreo. So the cereal box is the filling. That's the top cookie. And then the Lily fabric is going to be the other cookie. And that plan kind of backfired on me a little bit because after I got done cutting everything, I realized that the graphics were just too bright on this cereal box. And so I glued down one layer of that lining and I wrapped it around the edge so that way it would cover up the lining. Not the lining, it would cover up the graphics. And then I thought I would fray it and still try to go with my sandwich, but it didn't work. I ended up putting the closure on, which is a stiff fabric ribbon that is all that I had. I decided to lace it up. When in doubt, throw in some lace, right? Now I'm going to clip all of this around, get it as smooth as possible, try to keep the wrinkles out, and then take it over to my sewing machine and sew through all 3 layers. The backing, the cereal box, and the cover. And tuck that top cover into the, I tuck it around underneath itself, fold it underneath, and then do a stitch in the ditch kind of thing. I use the seam that I use to sew the lining down. I use that as my guide. And in a few spots, it was a little puckery, which I was not happy with, so I had to come up with a plan B for that. I put the lace over it, not the lace, the doily over it, and I actually liked that. Then I had put some ribbon. I glued some ribbon on the top to try to cover up any little imperfections up there, which I'm not trying to make it perfect, but I'm just trying to make it so that it's not sloppy homemade, it's pretty homemade. And this ribbon looks a little wrinkly on screen, but in the end it did seem like it belonged there. So now I'm about to wrestle this binding in, and I really do mean that because it's a challenge for me, though it's very satisfying when it's done. So this is my that flip page, so I have to be careful not to sew through that flip page because I want it flipping out, not sewn into the center. So there we go. We are clipped down and we're ready to go. Now I've gone through the center, come up the back, going back down into the center again, like that figure 8 I always talk about, and then pop out the back, which here is where it gives me a little bit of a challenge. Those pages, though they feel like they're all nailed down, they just kind of want to move on me, even though I put the holes in before and I have the awl holding the top one. But eventually I get it done. Pull that tight and tie that off, make sure it's good in the back and it looks good. I always wonder, should I have tied that off, the pamphlet stitch, before I put the lace down? But then I couldn't anyways because the lace doily is on the inside of the cover as well as the back because I folded it up around it. Now I'm going to put some pretty buttons on that binding thread that I left a little bit longer on purpose so that I could tie off a couple of buttons just to bring some added interesting color to the center. And that bright pink, it just kind of picks up and reminds the eye that there are other colors in this journal that will go back to that inspiration page. And I have the navy in here and the outdoor and the basketball color. which is not a lot throughout the journal because I was staying within those bright pastels, I call them. Now I'm just making sure the pamphlet stitch is looking good and feeling good, and I think we are. Now we are ready for a flip through. Yay! So we are ready for the flip through. So flip this over, and there you have 1,000. What does that mean? That means that Kate was a superstar. During her high school career, she scored 1,000 points, and she was recognized for that in our local paper. But I did sew some buttons on it. And now let's get inside of it. This ribbon is very stiff, so I'm not sure how this is going to work out, but I chose it because I did not have any navy ribbon. This is all that I had, but I kind of felt like it went with it. Well, revealed that right away. That's Brad's boots. That's my signature. My Brad is 22. He's in heaven, and he always came in the house and left dirt everywhere. He was a landscaper. So that's my artist signature. Number 3 is, you guessed it, her jersey. So I won't take this all out, but I found this the other day. I had to buy it because it's so close to Valentine's Day. Her mom said she loves squirrels. I said, tell me a little bit about her. Love squirrels. So there we go. Amazon, I was waiting for this to come in. Another vintage squirrel picture. She loves hydrangeas. So we got some hydrangeas in this tag. My sewing machine behaved. I like that when that happens. Her college, yes, is in New York. She has long blonde hair, and I imagine her playing with the squirrels. And this is so cute because it says the more nuts I throw, the fewest the squirrels have to carry. And I thought that was very sweet. And here's a little Lily Pulitzer knockoff that I washi taped down. And I included this map, that atlas that has New York in it. And on the other half of it, it has Albany. That's from the 70s, that map, which will be really ancient for her. Yeah, she may even have visited those places while she's at school, I'm hoping. Although, you know, maybe not, but maybe it's on her list to do. Always have to have some hearts in those colors. Love those colors. I did some different stitching with my sewing machine. And I got her hydrangea in there. Hydrangea. And some pretty flowers and some journaling cards. Ones that I made, ones that I cut out from my scrapbooks. Yeah, dream big. College girls do, hopefully. This, I was thinking of her as an athlete and playing both of her favorites, basketball and softball. And I tried to incorporate those colors. I imagine this is as this being her brother playing with her outside. She has 2 sisters and a brother. And I imagine there she is with her long hair outside in her yard at home, where it all began, playing basketball. I get that from a 1960s newspaper. Made a little booklet for journaling. And this is a vintage card from Albany, New York. And it's an education building. Just, put some of the extra fabric as a little bow on the edges. And this card is not a card, it's an envelope. I imagine her wearing pearls, and I did put Brad's boots in there. It's my artist signature. And there's some pinks in my sewing machine stitching. These coordinate really nicely, and I have the velvet ribbon as tabs. More pretty pink, just a pretty bow. Oh, her mom has a special letter to go in that envelope. I'm doing a voiceover. Yeah, so here's the hydrangea flowers that she likes. She also liked sunflowers, her mom said, and I was trying to figure out how to put sunflowers and hydrangea in the same spot, but it didn't work out. I do have some on the cards that I made though. That pretty blue. And there's that lace on that I purchased down the road from where she lives. I imagine this as being her mom with her and her sister. And this is just a card and a little tuck spot to hold these that I had made up. Not that one, but the other two. Nice little journaling areas. And there's the sunflowers. That's how I got them in there, from some magazine clippings. But that was pretty and serene. And there is the hydrangea and the sunflower together. Pretty colors, her basketball hoop. And I found that. And so I did end up gluing that down after I did the video. Yeah, I put a little bling in there. And some easy bead book jewelry. I tried my hand at some modeling paste. I just colored it with some ink after. It was alright. Some of it fell off. I don't know if I'm impressed with my work there, but of course we had to have the basketball. Came from that book in the beginning that I showed you, and her initials. And I imagine in the summertime she may take some time out to go to the beach. And here's that flip that was a little challenge for me. There's the binding jewelry buttons, and here is the center of the book that I glued number 3 to the shirt for her. Yeah, I don't know what her college jersey is. So here's some more cards that I made up with file folders and magazine clippings for transportable journaling spots. That's what I call it. That I just thought was really cute, and just a pair of boots in the snow. And roasted was a phrase that a lot of the kids used. That's my hand at decoupage. I finally think I did it okay. I used the gloss matte, not matte, I used Mod Podge glossy finish instead of matte. And I think it came out better. And just a little pocket back here for some more areas to journal on. That just looked like New York City to me. Not sure how far away Albany is from New York City. I'm not good at that. So little doily tuck there. I made that too, and I figured draw that in there for a little color. And a little color there too, just a little strip that was left over. Just love that vellum. I found these words and I thought, wow, that's so good. You know, being an athlete and a college student, those pretty images with the pink, I just imagine, stop, take a rest, and college kids need that. And, sometimes college kids just need to go to the beach. So that was a card from my local antique store. I thought I would put something in that circle. Then I just, eh, I, I tried a little something and I just decided against it. Little lace here and there, and another collage that I did. Just some pretty fabric tied onto the end of a paper clip. My sewing machine can get a little cantankerous there with zigzagging like that, but I just had to glue these on because I felt like it needed something there. Just like those colors. Lace pocket. And I found some blue velvet, but not enough to go around. Just enough to put a little color there. Little belly band there. Paper doily. This is an image that is throughout so much because that's what her mom had sent me for inspiration. And there's her sunflowers. And there's Albany. There it is. I wish I could be there when she opened it because I'm hoping she'll just find like little, secret things that I did for her everywhere. I just love that kind of sewing. This little golden book was a challenge to incorporate in this 10-inch journal. So the washi tape had to come through for me. It wasn't always sticking though. There's her squirrels. Very playful. So we're getting to the end. Love these two together. Have the belly band in there. And, oh, looks like I'm a little up close to the camera, but put the buttons on. And that does it for this journal, 1000. Thanks for hanging in there with me to the end. I made a long video this time. I hope you like it. Please subscribe and like. And give a thumbs up if you like this video. Thank you.